Well, welcome everybody to this 3P Scotland webinar for June, and I'm absolutely delighted that Dicken Bettinger is joining us as a guest today. Dicken has hosted in-person events here in Scotland, which has been really, really wonderful. It's been a privilege to be part of that. But the most the thing uppermost in my mind in asking you, Dicken, to come and join the conversation and to be our guest this month is really the work that you have done in outreach for 3PGC, because like you, that part is very close to my heart, and I was unaware of it until you and I happened to have a conversation probably about 3 years ago now, and you know that the extraordinary things that we've been doing to try and get this work more widely into the world. And I know that you've been instrumental in creating a very accessible apprentice program for which is very inexpensive, and I've been pointing all sorts of people in the direction of that. And I know that you take a really hands-on, I mean, I know that you take a direct, you know, a board level kind of involvement in that, but you're also hosting webinars regularly for people who are on that, and that you're supporting this idea of communities across the world, which I think was one of Sid's visions, to have places locally where people can learn about what the principles are and how it can be helpful to know about them. So that's the kind of background. Thank you so much for giving your time freely once again to be here, and I really, really appreciate it. And I'm going to hand it over to you, and I know most of the people on the call will know a lot about your story, but perhaps perhaps you could introduce yourself and take us up to date in whatever way seems appropriate.
Lovely being here, and it's really something to see the party that you pulled together today. It's
The Scots are here now.
yeah, oh, good. Yeah, I did. I loved my time. Twice I've been to Scotland and stayed with you one time, Christian, which was a real delight, and got to meet your beautiful daughter, Erin, and so anyways, I got to go to Edinburgh Castle, where Sid used to hang out as a kid and play. And it was sort of like a memorial. We've been there twice now, and it's like a memorial trip just because we're so full of gratitude that I happened to find a book in a bookstore, the first book written about the principles, or attempted to write about the principles, Sanity, Insanity, and Common Sense, by Dr. Roger Mills and a couple other people.
I believe I have that on my bookshelf.
Do you? Oh my gosh. And then I went to a 5-day professional training, and they mentioned, our teacher is a retired Scottish welder. And so I flew across the United States to hear Sid talk, and it was really something to be in his presence, because it wasn't so much what he said, but where he was saying it from. And it's a little bit like, if any of you hold a baby, just watch what happens to your state of mind when you look at a baby's face and the baby is looking at you. The power of pure presence. And what happened for me is I'm sitting there in the auditorium for 2 days, listening to him talk for probably an hour in the morning and an hour in the afternoon. But he was just talking from such a deep feeling and presence. It's as close to come as being in the presence of an adult in newborn consciousness. free of the contamination of the conceptual mind, which he knew all of us could get a taste of. So the combination of his presence and his confidence and his pointing us toward that quiet space inside every one of us, and metaphorically, I think I just dropped out of my intellect, which I was so used to engaging the world with. I had been a psychologist 10 years. I had my doctorate, right? I'd been used to engaging everything through my intellect, and the intellect wouldn't help you listening to Sid. Nothing wrong with the intellect, but you can't discover your true nature, your true self. You can't discover well-being. You can't discover unconditional love by thinking about life, by thinking about the principles. And so I dropped out of my head, metaphorically, dropped into a space of quiet presence. Ordinary. Sid kept saying it's ordinary. It's our birthright. And it was, there are no words that can describe the feeling of being completely free. And Sid would say, you can become aware, instead of looking out at the world and thinking about it, which is what most adults do 99% of their waking hours. He says you can look within to this quiet that's always here underneath the noise of your personal thinking. He said, don't listen to my words. Don't take my word for it. You look. You look. Only you can discover this space because it's in you. And it's always here. It's not in the world. You can't find it out there. You can't think your way to it. And he's talking to every one of us as if we're best friends. And he's talking to each of us. He was talking to each of us very directly. Dicken, you can't think your way to it. Dicken, go beyond your thinking. You can. It's easy. It's really dropping into the now, which is free of time. No past, no future, no memories, no anticipation of an imagined future, just now. It's only in the now you can discover what you're looking for. It's only in the now you can get a glimpse of your spiritual nature. And it's not intellectual and it can't be explained, but you can directly experience that now. And you can become aware of that quiet presence because it's what's always here. When you let go of everything you're thinking, it's what still remains. An aware, quiet presence. It's always here in every person, no matter what. Can't be broken, can't be damaged, can't be hurt. It's formless life energy. And you're made of that energy, like everybody else. All of life is just this same energy. So you can be aware of that quiet. Look for silence. And then you can be aware of the feeling that you're in when you're in that silence. Don't describe it. You'll be back in your intellect. You don't have to label it. peace, joy, love, contentment. Feel it. Look for the feeling, listen for that feeling, feel that feeling of quiet presence. It's right here, it's already here, it's always here. And if you touch that space and that feeling, something beautiful must be created through you, must be created through you. I cried, I laughed, I felt so high, but it wasn't a drug high. It wasn't stoned high. It was awake, alive, newborn consciousness alive. And at that point, without thinking about it, I knew I would open the first center in the Northeast of the United States to share this. I wanted everybody to know. I wanted my kids to know there's a space inside of you that's free, that's open. It's a drop-in center. It's open 24/7. It's the most inclusive club in the world because all are invited. There's no bouncer. There's no admission charge. It's for free. And my God, the refreshments that are served in the drop-in center, this is real soul food. This is being nourished by your soul, by this divine spirit. It will gift you boundlessly with feelings of well-being and new and fresh thinking. And it's the ultimate source of creativity. It's where everything comes from. It's the very heart of the universe. He said, don't get greedy. I had 4 seconds there, and my whole life changed. Don't think you have to live there, touch there, and it awakens something deep and true. And once you know that that center is there, you have total confidence so that when you're having any kind of tension, stress, or upset, that feeling becomes an invitation to the drop-in center. It's like your best friend going, hey, Dicken, don't forget about your connection to the universe, where you find the answers to everything, that where you experience the purest of well-being, where you can fall in love with life. It's a love that's not about any person or thing. It's an unconditional love where you fall in love with everything. So when Sid was dying, he said to a number of his closest friends, please try to keep the simplicity of this alive. Look within. There's quiet. There's a feeling. And in that feeling, there's a knowing that will guide you through life. Please try and keep it alive and simple. It has nothing to do with believing anything. It's going beyond beliefs. And very quickly, people will turn this into new ideas, new beliefs, new techniques, new things. So do the best you can to keep pointing people toward this spiritual truth that all psychology is created from and connected to. And so we started the 3 Principles Global Community to honor Sid's dying requests. And all we wanted to do is be a resource to help anyone who wanted to be. We started with practitioners because we're just a bunch of ordinary people getting together, and we're working full time, almost every one of us, and we're volunteering our time, and here we're trying to create a global resource center. And we said, let's just start with people who are practitioners or want to become practitioners. And we'll will provide as much support. We'll guide them towards Sid's materials. We'll share insights we've had that have pointed us toward this utter, unbelievable simplicity. You just have to know where to look. Stop looking out at the world and thinking about it, including yourself as an object, including your thoughts and feelings as objects and thinking about them. That's still thinking about the world. That's a teeny fraction of who we really are, because we're connected to this ocean. We're waves of form connected to the ocean of consciousness. Drop into that quiet, and there's a feeling and then a knowing that will guide you through any challenges or difficulties in your life, no exception. And it works that way for everybody. This is a universal truth. It's not a belief. So we did the best we could. I was on the practitioner committee. It was primarily Mark Howard, George Pransky, and I, and then over time, other people have joined us, got interested, and we put together a practitioner program. And the last thing we wanted to do was be the three principal police. None of us like that idea of saying, you're grounded, you're not, you got it, you don't. So we came up with the most minimal set of requirements we could think of. You have to have been sharing, doing the best you can to point people toward the principles in whatever capacity as clients. You have to be doing that for 2 years. And we figured if people could do that for 2 years and still enjoyed it and still found it valuable and still found their clients were interested in benefiting, that's a good sign. And we ask that people tell people about Sid's materials, not to convince them of anything, but just say, hey, listen, you should hear about this from the person who had an enlightenment experience that revealed these principles to him. Not to study Sid Banks, but to hear what he discovered from his mouth. Because we had seen the benefit. I saw what happened to me in that auditorium in a college in California when I sat there and listened. Then we did that for a number of years, created a practitioner program and did the best we could to create materials and videos and supervision and coaching and charging practically nothing, less than I charged for 1 hour for a full year membership. That's the best deal around. It's the best deal around in terms of getting exposure to the principles. And then it hit me like a ton of bricks one day. We're asking people to not apply to be listed as a practitioner, and it's not a certification of anything. It's a listing. I'm a practitioner. I point people toward the three principles as best I can. I remind people of Sid's materials. It's a listing so that people could go, where is somebody who's doing that in the world, and who are these folks, and where do they live, and how can I get in touch with them? So that's what we've done. And then, but we said you have to wait 2 years before you can apply. And when's the time when it's most important to get grounding is in the beginning. Oh my gosh, when I started sharing the principles, the way I got my grounding was I invited Roger Mills to come to Burlington, Vermont, where I was working, and do a weekend. I invited George and Linda Bransky to come to my center to talk about relationships and the principles. I invited Robert Cousin to come to talk about how this applies to work in business. I had Joe Bailey come talk about how this applies in addictions. You know who was in the front row, the biggest student? I'm going, oh my gosh, this is so good to get people who have spent the most time with Sid, who now have successful practices, have them come and share what they're seeing. Well, that's what we're trying to do for anybody now who starts. So we started an apprentice practitioner program, and it has almost all the same benefits as a practitioner. Let me just give you an idea. Let me just see. I pulled up that page so I could have it here. Excuse me while I read just a little bit. Some benefits of becoming an apprentice practitioner with 3PGC. A required 3 principles foundation course. This was so cool. It's a 4-part series that we've recorded. The first session, who is Sydney Banks? Second session, what does it mean to be grounded in the 3 principles? Third session, how are the 3 principles different from other approaches? And 4, why is pointing to the 3 Ps enough to deal with any problem ever from any client? So that's available now for people. We have a whole lot of other videos on our website that you would have access to. Live coaching and supervision sessions with experienced practitioners. Grounding groups. I wanted to do those. You take a Sid quote and talk about it, and then reflect on it together with a group of people, with the apprentices. And discounts on events and conferences. And then there's some things that are required in terms of, right now we're saying, well, there's at least one person you're talking to share the principles, so you have a starting point to talk about what that's like and what happens for you and what are your questions. And it's been so fun when we all rotate and take turns doing these things, and now the practitioners are also able to do things for the apprentice practitioners. And recently we created another level of membership. So we have practitioner, apprentice practitioner, and now we have community member. And we have a lot of these same benefits available, not the supervision, but grounding. So it's grounding programs for people who say, I'd love to learn more, become more grounded. I don't want to be a practitioner. I want to be the best mom I can be. I want to be the best doctor I can be, the best lawyer, the best whatever. So we just recently, we're going to we're putting together a new website, and the instant that comes up, we're going to make available the community membership. So the community membership will be $80 a year. That really just covers administrative costs and makes all these programs available. 120 for apprentice practitioners, 160 for practitioners. It's
it's wonderful, Dicken, and I think that thing of just making it very accessible, you know, whether it's, you know, I think that community idea is fantastic as well, because the for the longest time it's been quite difficult to learn more. I actually stumbled across the principles way back in about 1990 through Joe Bailey's book, but it was pre-internet, there was nowhere to go, you know, and I you know, I couldn't come to America to there was a PO box you could
That's
write
true.
to, and you know what, you know, it's so great now that that can be available, and the resources, you know, that are on the website now are phenomenal, as well as the ongoing calls and things like that. Yeah, it's I really love the fact that there has been that sort of turnaround from being, you know, principally for practitioners to, it seems to me like it's principally about outreach, or it's much more about outreach there. And the irony is, the more outreach, the more it helps everybody.
Well,
the more
now
new people are coming in, the more everybody gets.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, the accessibility that's made possible through the internet and Zoom and has been life-changing. And so we wanted to have a program available. It used to be when I wanted training, I had to travel to the other side of the United States on a regular basis, which was not easy. I was, you know, 2 kids and working long hours and trying to save up money so I could travel and get training, and it was very expensive. And now we wanted to make programs. Oh, by the way, we have that fee, but we also give scholarships to anybody that can't afford the fee. So we don't turn anybody away for financial reasons. Anybody who has a sincere desire to deepen their grounding. Right? So it's really wide open to anyone. And we wanted to do that. And there's some phenomenal training programs now, but they're super expensive and often involves a lot of traveling. And we knew that wasn't possible for a lot of people. And so our mission is to spread Sid's message and to help people deepen their grounding, hearing it in its simplicity rather than tied in with other things that complicate it, other theories, other ideas, other beliefs, other approaches, other techniques. That's the beauty of this, is the utter, you already have everything you're looking for. You just can't realize it when you're looking out at the world thinking about it. You say, Sid, why do we get lost so easily? He says, you open your eyes and you see things and you start thinking about them. And then pretty soon it seems like that's the whole world, is what you can see. And now scientists are saying what is visible in our universe that can be seen with the best telescopes and the most powerful electron microscopes only accounts for 4% of the energy of our universe. 96% of the energy of our universe it can't be seen or measured. Well, Sid didn't just realize the nature of our universe, he realized the nature of all universes. So he talks about infinity. There's an infinite field You can call it the quantum field, you can call it space. They're just words. And we're connected to that intimately. And that space, what Sid realized in his enlightenment, the essence of that space is intelligence, because out of it knows how to create everything that exists out of nothing. And it knows how to operate what's created. So we're connected to a universal intelligence, universal mind. It's aware because everything that's created, no matter what, every cell in the universe has awareness. It responds to life, responds to pressure and heat and touch, and every cell. Little one-celled amoebas scoot around and find food and take it in, and it nourishes them. And it's full of creative potential. That's one way of talking about the power of thought. It's continually generating mental activity that allows us to have a vast range of human experience. So the very essence of the 96% wise, conscious, creative, and that's our very essence. So when we drop into that space, we become wiser, more awake, more aware, more conscious, more understanding, you could say. And we become more hopeful because we're full of creative potential. It's our very nature, no exception. And the experience of going beyond concepts that create the illusion of separation is you experience a wholeness, a connection. So we feel more intimately connected to life. Why? Because that's already true. So when I drop into this drop-in center, I feel I fall in love with trees and flowers and my wife, no matter what mood she's in, and my kids, no matter how they're acting and behaving. And from there, I have so much more clarity and common sense in terms of, without even thinking about it, how to respond to them in a way that doesn't make things worse. I want everybody to know about the drop-in center. It's free. It's open. There's no doors. So we're trying to replicate that 3PGC being a drop-in center in the world, the forum that's open to anybody. It's all inclusive. The board itself has added new members that are younger and much greater diversity because we're committed to that thing about we're all the same. So this is all inclusive. We're doing the best we can to uphold that spirit, keep it alive, and do the best we can to point people within to that magical, mysterious, unknowable, yet knowable dimension of our being. We're human, 4%, beings, 96%. Spiritual beings living in a physical form. So the ultimate truth is our body can be celebrated because our body is a mystery. It's the universe. It's not separate. A lot of spiritual teaching says, I'm not my body, I'm not my thinking, I'm not my feeling, I'm not. It creates a duality that's artificial. It doesn't exist. I am my body, which is a mystery, which is the universe. Awakens us to our true self, which is 100%. Not our true self is not the 96%, it's 100% whole. Sid says we have to learn that chapter in Missing Link about beyond duality. We have to go beyond the duality created by our conceptual mind and start seeing life in the singular, where spirit and matter are the same thing in different form, all one. This is why Sid felt like the experience of our wholeness is what will eliminate injustice in the world, all the social ills, violence, polarizing politics, polarizing belief against belief systems. It will be the cure for conflict and polarization. And that's his vision, to relieve the suffering of the whole world. 3PGC is offering a new program for practitioners saying, again, this simple single premise that if anybody touches that space, they'll find the answer to every single problem they might have. No exceptions. So we're going to do a program on that.
Which I think starts next week. Is that right? At this around?
Yeah, Aaron Turner is doing the first 3. Natasha and I are doing the next one. George and Linda, the next one. Chris and Judy are doing the next one. It's just, again, doing the best we can to make the simplicity of this understanding available to everybody and give people an opportunity, because you can always see it deeper than you're seeing it. I see it deeper this year than I did last year. Mm. And that's the beauty of touching this space. There's no end to infinity. There's no end to creation. Sid used to joke around and say, anybody who says, oh, I get these principles, stamp the date on their forehead. That's the day they've stopped learning, stopped being open to insight, to new and fresh. So there's always, it's very humbling, very, very humbling. We're all students. We're all students. That's why I called my business mentoring, because then it's not expert in someone who doesn't know. We're all the same. We all get lost. We all get found. We all have the same essence of wholeness. Thoughts, comments, questions? We can go anywhere.
The words right out of my mouth.
My gosh, we have 20 minutes. All the time in the world. I'd love to
please
hear from you, or if you have any questions about anything I've said so far.
Everybody's muted, but you can just unmute yourself, and please do come in, because it's so much more, even more lively and relevant, I think, when everybody can contributes, or more people contribute. So we'd love to hear from you. George.
Hiya.
Hi, George.
Hi, Dicken. Lovely to hear your words. So beautiful. I do have a question, but I kind of wanted to celebrate your words first. I've listened to you chat a few times, and I just love it. I love listening to you.
Thanks, George.
I've had the good fortune to work with George and Linda a little bit. I did the illustration for George's book, so I really enjoyed.
Good for you, for the metaphor book.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. I love that.
No, lovely.
Great illustrations. Wow.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. So my question is a universal question, I suppose, in a way. How do you see the understanding saturation in the last 10 or 40 years? Are you seeing a growth, an expanding of the understanding of the grounding?
I'm so glad you brought that up because I meant to talk about that. George, you're reading my mind. Oh my gosh, this is great. Well, just on a personal level, when I learned about the principles, I didn't know anybody. You'd have to go from Vermont, where I was living, to Minnesota or to Tampa, Florida, to find anybody else who had heard of Sid Banks. And then gradually, I created a center, and then people started coming from all over the United States to the center, and then brought the conference to Burlington, Vermont, and brought all these speakers, and then it's spreading and spreading and spreading. And when I started, I knew the 100 people that were listening to Sid. And then all of a sudden, last time I spoke at the conference in London, there were 1,300 people from 50-something countries. Now, 3PGC too, as we started, just all we could handle at first was helping to develop a group of practitioners. And then we've grown bigger, and now we have, if you look on 3PGC, the international communities, there are tons of groups of people in countries or in special interest groups who have formed 3PGC communities where they get together, they share SID materials, they put on events. That's exciting. And the other thing that's really exciting is Shane Kennedy, who is the head of Lone Pine Press that published all of Sid's works, has been totally re-inspired. And so he created a Sid Banks YouTube channel with everything that's available for free.
Beautiful.
And then he's been working, and I've been working with a lot of people who are translating Sid's materials into their own languages. And so now it's going into all different languages. Now we're starting to develop different language pages on our website. And the Sid videos are now, there's a program that is so developed that does like a 90% accuracy rate on translating like Sid's videos into any language. And then somebody, instead of spending a week trying to translate the video into their language, within 3 hours can go through the translated video and make changes and corrections, and then that's available, can be available in any language. So we have a committee that's working on helping people who are interested in that. Right? We have an international communities committee. We have all these different committees on the board that are drawing on people who are not part of the board to help spread the word.
Lovely.
So it's really taken off, George. It's finally, I can say now, I mean, Sid would be so delighted to see it's really going globally.
And something you said earlier that I'd forgotten about was, of course, as technology has improved, the Zoom world and so on, yeah, it's a huge opportunity. I loved it. It hit me right in the center when you mentioned the complete accessibility for all. Lovely, lovely, lovely.
That's to see how on the deepest level, we're not separate waves, we're all part of the same ocean, is life-changing. My greatest priority is to hold the flag of universality. We're all part of the same family. Before I'm from the United States, I'm this, have this interest, I'm a man, I'm a this, I'm a that. Before that is our universal identity of we're all connected as one.
Yeah.
And that's going to change the world the more that sinks in. And we said, Sid, how's it going to spread? And he says, it can't be stopped. It's inevitable. When truth comes into the world, you look at like when Galileo says the Earth is not the center of the solar system, they wanted to kill him. They made him promise never to say that again.
When you said what you just said there, when you said what you just said there, a rush of emotion ran through me.
Yeah, it's very hopeful, and more people are talking about you don't have to follow the three principles because we're being lived by the three principles. Everybody is. They're forces like gravity. They're not ideas and beliefs. And so to remind people of the fact that we're connected to universal forces transcends differences in cultures and religions and philosophies. I wake up with such hope. And I know there's not a single person that doesn't already have this drop-in center and can't discover it for themselves.
Yeah.
It's so hopeful. I'm not trying to convince people of anything that's not true. I'm not trying to say, believe what I believe. I'm not trying to say what you believe is right or wrong. I'm saying beyond belief, there's something that's beyond belief.
It's so, people often say to me when I'm pointing, man, that's deep. I said, yeah, isn't it simple?
Beautiful. It really is. Sid says, one time at the end of his life, he said, how simple could this be? I've only ever said the same thing. Go beyond the words. There's a quiet. There's a feeling. And that wisdom comes through that feeling and will guide you through life. That's all I've been saying. That's the essence of what's true for everybody. It's the essence of what's true in all spiritual, psychological systems. It's the essence of all sciences. It's the essence of physics. It's the essence of neurobiology.
I had a weird experience today. I was driving the motorbike and I had some tricky thinking and then I had a horrible feeling. So I clamped onto it to see if I could hold it and I couldn't.
I know.
Honestly, I was like, oh, I'm going to stay with this. I'm going to see if I can. If I could stay with this horrible feeling for 5 minutes, I'll have done something. I couldn't.
See, your understanding has overcome your ideas. I want to, I need, I have to. Those are all just beliefs. Those are all ideas. They're not truth.
I was trying to play with it. I was like, I'll get you. I'll hold you. No.
Yeah. I remember one time my daughter had such a profound insight about thought. She would say, Dad, the other day, a friend said something horrible to me and I was so angry and I wanted to stay angry. I couldn't. I couldn't. 10 minutes later, I'm completely over it. And why would I hold on to it? I mean,
Oh,
whatever could be the benefit of holding on to a thought that keeps me feeling this miserable?
beautiful.
Yeah, that's great, George. I love, here you are driving on your motorcycle, trying to hold what can't be held.
I'll get you. No, well,
Yeah. Yeah. That's one of the most beautiful ways of talking about what forgiveness is. It's not forgiving the other person for what they did. It's seeing you're holding and having the choice. I continue to hold or I let go. That's it. So you can't talk about love without talking about forgiveness.
Beautiful. True. I wonder if there's anyone else who'd like to jump in.
Hey, thanks, George.
Thank you, Dicken. Thank you.
I feel like I've been on the back of your motorcycle for a few minutes here. It's been a nice ride. Anybody else, anything you'd like to say or add or ask?
Marty. No, I thought you were coming in there.
I was going to say that. Oh, sorry, Martin.
Oh, hi, everybody. I'm Amber. I wanted to say something here. I really enjoyed your talk today, Dicken, and much appreciated. And thank you, Christian, for helping to arrange it. It's been a beautiful, deep experience. Very much appreciated it. And you said, Dicken, that you felt that you'd had a deepening of your understanding in this past year, and I felt I did just in the past few minutes. I really got something deeper that I really enjoyed, and it's been neat to have seen you all throughout your time that I've seen you associated with Sid, and to see you deepen and grow. And it's always wonderful to see other people deepen and grow, because then you know it's possible, and you are affirmed that change happens, and so it's a beautiful thing. So thank you.
Oh, Amber, that's to see other people have shifts in consciousness makes it all the more real.
Yeah.
And hopeful that any of us can touch that space beyond the known, and then a shift happens. I've evolved in my understanding of what an insight is. I used to think it was the idea that occurred to you. Until one day Sid says, "You want to kill an insight? think it's the words and hold on to them. Say, hey, I have an insight here. Look, I got it in my hand. This is my insight." And it hit me like a ton of bricks that I was always waiting for insights and looking for insights in form. And then I go to England for the first time 15 years ago, and there were 65 people and everybody was unhappy. They were all saying, when am I going to get a big insight? I'm waiting for my insight. I want an insight. And so now, and I, during the break, I said to my wife, something's very wrong here. I didn't know what to say really. And other than when I got back together with the group, I said, oh, insights are highly overrated. There's nothing like falling in love, and don't worry about the content. I didn't really know what to say other than that. And now I have a sense that an insight is anytime we, like Sid would say, if you can take one little step beyond your precious thought system and touch the unknown, rather than being in, oh, I know, touch the unknown just for a nanosecond, something beautiful will be born. And you'll see life for a moment from within. You'll see through the eyes of pure presence, pure consciousness, pure thought, pure love, and you'll see the world as it is rather than as it isn't. You'll see from within, in sight. And that'll change how you see the world, because you'll see it as it is. You'll recognize truth for a moment. Or as Sid would say, you'll get a glimpse of truth. That's all it takes. He had 4-second glimpse of truth, and suddenly he goes from a insecure welder to speaking in universities. One little glimpse. We can get, he was adamant after his enlightenment experience. What happened to me, anyone could get a glimpse of. Anyone. And it's those glimpses that transform lives, not all the theories and ideas and beliefs and techniques and things we do. It's in those moments, people have shifts of consciousness. And every time you touch that space, it shifts your overall level of consciousness a little higher. You'll still have your moods, but your overall level of understanding has gone up. Now, moods are just the waves on the surface. Doesn't matter. You go a little bit deeper and you're out of the influence of those waves. It's quiet. You don't have to stop the waves, fix the waves. There's nothing wrong with moods. Nothing. I started thinking, well, moods are the psychological inhale and exhale. And it's not like any of us say, I'm not going to do the damn exhale anymore. If I get healthy enough, I'll only be in a high mood all the time. I want to have low moods. You go beyond moods to the quiet that's there, that embraces and includes every mood. It's all inclusive. Doesn't judge. So I can be in a very low mood, and either I'm in my thinking and it's complicated and difficult and conflicted, or I'm in a low mood and I drop out of my thinking and I'm still in a low mood, but I'm awake. And the great discovery was I can still be kind in a low mood. I have to wait. See, ego is always putting it into an imagined future. I have to wait for a better mood before I can be loving and kind. No, you don't. Sid was talking about a love that includes everything you experience. And then you begin to be loving toward people who bring their low moods to you. Because it's not who they are. You see beyond their moods to their true self. This beautiful little teddy bear inside, this cuddly little loving, creative, kind-hearted being, because that's our true nature.
Dicken, that was wonderful. Just wonderful. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I was so excited about coming back to Scotland. And now I see England too. My people, 70% DNA, right, with my people. And Scotland too. I got a lot of Scott in me, and my wife is 50% Scottish. So,
well, I hope we'll see you in person. I'm realizing that we're kind of at the time, but I was also conscious that Andrea was about to ask a question. Do you have a couple of minutes to?
I do.
To do that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And
thanks.
Andrea.
Thanks, Christian. It was just a observation rather than a question, but I just really enjoyed the feeling when you were talking earlier, Dicken. And then when George started speaking, I had to laugh to myself because of the synchronicity of the conversation, because when you'd been speaking, what was going through my mind was that I'd stepped away from the 3 Ps for the past couple of years because I'd saturated myself so much with things. And then George starts speaking about saturation, and I was just having to have a little laugh about how as soon as I came back into this conversation and the mood just settled, and I was just enjoying that feeling, and it's just that linking into what's going on in other people's minds. And you'd said to George, oh, you were reading my mind. So yeah, I just wanted to say that I really enjoyed the feeling of tonight's conversation, and it was good to come back after a few years away. So thank you.
Yeah, I like that metaphor of coming home. Particularly fond of that one.
You liked it so much, you wrote the book.
Hey, thanks everybody for showing up. I know it's evening for you. It's only 11 in the morning. I haven't had lunch yet, so it's. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Dicken. Thank you so much for making the time, and thank you everybody for being here. I really appreciate it. We are going to kind of continue with these at the moment, and if you've got any Scottish people got any needs for or requests, please put it in the Facebook group. But you're all very welcome to the calls. So thanks again, and thank you, Dicken. Wonderful. A recording will be available later.
Thank you, Christian, so much for inviting me. Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks,
Christian.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Lots of love.